Hey, it's Jacob, continuing on with my daily vlog. I am at the Frankfurt airport. I am finally heading back home to San Francisco. I just took my flight from Barcelona to Frankfurt. Now I have 11 and a half hours from Frankfurt to San Francisco. And as I was reflecting on my trip, and I was talking about this with my wife, who's now in Norway speaking at a conference. She's flying home just a couple hours after me. And we were talking on the phone and just talking about how different things are in this part of the world than the United States. You know, I was commenting how so many people in Barcelona smoke, how at the airport they just tell you the gate that you're supposed to be departing out of like 15 minutes before the flight takes off. That dinner in Barcelona, the restaurants don't even open till 8 o'clock. You know, there's these little tiny differences that are very, very noticeable depending on where in the world that you go to. And I actually talk about this in my book, The Future Leader. I talk about the importance of having this global citizen mindset, the importance of understanding differences depending on where in the world you go. And I talked about this during my keynote. And I was asking these leaders, I was speaking to 200 leaders from this large organization, and they were leaders from all over the world, from Australia, from China, from France, from Boston, from all over the place. And I was asking this question of, if I were to take you out of your current environment, so let's say you're in Australia or you're in France, and if I were to drop you off into another environment, let's say China or Australia, would you be able to lead just as successfully? In other words, do you understand the differences in these various parts of the world? Because obviously what you do in the United States, what you do in China, you can't just copy and paste the same things, right? What works in the United States isn't going to work in China. What works in Australia might not necessarily work in Boston. So one of these important mindsets that I talk about for the future leader is the ability to understand that depending on where in the world you go, things actually get done differently there. So it's a question that I want to encourage you to think about. If you were taken out of your current environment and put somewhere else in the world, would you be able to lead just as successfully, just as effectively? Do you have that mindset of being able to embrace new cultures and ideas and values? Or do you assume that because you're a leader, you have to enforce your beliefs and your values and your ways of doing things onto other people? Something to think about. I think we know what the correct answer to that is, but it's, I think, going to be a very, very important mindset for current and future leaders, especially as we see more globalization happening, teams spread all over the world. You're going to have that global citizen mindset. So that's really what I've been thinking about after reflecting on this trip and just noticing some of these very, very unique differences. Another thing, you know, in Barcelona and Europe here, people are very direct, whereas in the United States, you know, maybe people are not as direct. So it's just little stuff like that that's really fascinating to pay attention to and to notice. So that's it for me. Heading out. I'll be on the plane for the next 11 and a half hours. Hope everyone's having a wonderful day wherever in the world you are.